What's happening, people? It's Rux back once again with another video. So I've received a lot of comments recently asking me how I went from UX design to product ownership, and even a step further, like how I became a UX designer in the first place. So I thought I would use today's video to give you that also requested walkthrough of my career history, starting with what I did at university and how I am now a product owner that lives in Germany. It's been a bit of a diverse-ish career, but it's the only career I've had. So I hope you enjoy this video and let's reminisce. Okay, so where should I even start with this video? Peek into my private life. I have an older sister, and basically growing up, I would call her my second mum because she knew about all things UK, whereas my mum is Nigerian and not the best to go to for career advice. So growing up, I basically would just copy what my older sister did. She was good at business and economics in sixth form, and I basically just did the same subjects. But then she went on to university to study business economics, whereas I studied economics and finance. I got better A-levels than her, so I did a harder course. Anyway, she goes on to become an accountant working in finance, and of course I thought that I would follow along in her footsteps. So whilst I was at university and it was time for me to do my placement year, I wanted to get as close to accounting and finance as possible. That's how I end up with a placement at a really nice organisation working in the treasury and tax departments for a year. However, doing that placement made me realise that treasury accounting or tax accounting was not for me. So fast forward to my final year at university and I decided that I want to be a management consultant. I didn't know much about management consulting, but I thought banking is intense, you know. I didn't want to sleep in the office like half of my life, and management consultants seem to have that good lifestyle, you know, the business expenses, the traveling, the company card. So just hands up, that was why I applied to be a management consultant. Really thinking thoroughly through my life decisions here. I applied to many companies and organizations, and one of them finally accepted me. Luckily for me, it was an aviation consultancy just outside of London, and I really got to live that consultant lifestyle. At one point, I was flying to Brussels almost every week, working closely with the European Commission, which of course was a crazy experience. I was working in new cities and just finding myself in random places that I'd never even gone before, like Paris, France, Bucharest, Romania. It was just all a really fun and exciting experience. However, quite quickly found myself feeling that the physical work itself that I was doing was not for me. As much as I loved the organization and I loved my 2.5 years I worked there, I felt that I wanted to do something different. So fast forward, COVID hits and I actually get put on a furlough. And then for those of you that don't know what furlough is, it was basically a scheme for the government which meant that your company would put you off work, but you would still get paid. And my company was nice enough to pay us our full salaries if you were on furlough. Of course, working in an aviation consultancy when there's a pandemic and no one can fly anywhere, the whole thing just sort of grounded to a halt. But I'd say 6 months or even a year before the pandemic actually hit, I already knew that I couldn't see myself staying long term in my organization. So that's when I started to look for new and different roles that I could see myself doing. However, I found it so hard because I just couldn't picture myself doing anything that I knew about. So one fateful day, I'm on YouTube browsing through people's days in the life, looking at their jobs and trying to find something that I could please want to change into, and that's when I see a random video about UX design. At the time, I had no idea what a UX designer was, and this is already like 2.5 years post me graduating from university. And that's when I watched the video and think, oh, maybe this could be a bit of me, because at one point I was thinking about whether I wanted to become a software developer. However, I found that designers could design it in the way that they wanted, and the software developers actually go on to code it. So therefore I could skip all that hard stuff in software developing and coding and just simply design it in the way that it looks and feel creative and more fulfilled that way. Obviously, if you've seen one of my previous videos about why I've now turned my back on UX design roles, you'll know that that is not necessarily the case. But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. So that's when I signed up to the course at CareerFoundry. Those 11 painful roller coaster months. And of course, I look back and I have no regrets. Whilst I was doing the course, I was thinking, how could I pivot myself into a role that would help me become a UX designer? Having my consulting background, I thought, why not find a way to work in digital consulting, which then would mean that I would have some sort of experience, or at least be in an organization where these roles could be on offer. About halfway through the course, that's when I applied for a job at a digital consultancy and was lucky enough to be accepted. I did have to take a step back in terms of the level I was at and in terms of salary, but I knew that it would be a stepping stone to get to where I wanted to be now, because of course I was completely changing careers in terms of the field that I wanted to specialize in and the type of work that I wanted to be doing, and there was doubts from others at the time about whether this was the best move. But if you're unhappy now, you're going to be unhappy in 40 years, so just do what you want to do whenever you want to do it, because there are no rules in this thing called life. So whilst working at this consultancy, this is where it gets interesting. I was working for a client brand, and the consultancy's whole aim is to help clients become customer centric and ready for this digital world. So basically building your online presence and digital experiences that users have when they interact with the client brand, whether that's on a website or a mobile app. And whilst working for this consultancy, I was placed 50% in the UX design team and 50% in the mobile app team as a business analyst. In the UX team, it was very interesting. I got to see the interactions between the product owners and the UX designers. That's where I saw that the way that UX design interacted with the product owners at this company was a bit different to how I had learned it on the bootcamp. It was less about this is the best user experience, so build it in this way, and more about what was technically possible, could be done within a certain time frame, made sense with the overall brand direction that we're going, and all of these just topic areas that were brought by the product owner. And ultimately, it was the product owner that got to decide what was being built, when it was being built, and even how it was going to be built. And at one point, I don't want to be mean, but in this company, the UX designers turned into just creators of whatever the product owner said. So working on that project for about half a year, my 50% UX team and 50% mobile app team balance quickly became off, and I found myself trying to get more and more in the mobile app team as possible, just because of the way that the relationship was working and my expectations of what I wanted from my future role. It became more aligned with the mobile app team. I of course naturally built a good working relationship with my manager, who was actually from the client. Being a consultant, you're not meant to work on a project forever, and at one point my organization mentioned to me that it was time for me to roll off. Enjoying it as much as I was and feeling that I was learning so much, I did not want this. Actually, previously, before I'd done my career change, I thought that I didn't want to be a consultant anymore anyway, because of the constant bouncing from project to project. So that's when I asked my client side manager how she would feel if I was to move to the client full time. That's where she said, Yes, she's happy with my work, but of course the decision is not in her hands, and I would have to go through the interview process like any other candidate. But the spoiler alert was that if I was to do this, I would have to move to Germany, which I am of course doing right now, so you guys know what happens next. I interview, I get the job, and next thing I know, I am here. Well, not next thing, it took 3 months for the whole visa application process. Thank you, Brexit. So that's when I moved to the client side, working now full-time in a mobile app team, but still as a business analyst. And the role of a business analyst can also be compared to a junior product owner. You basically work hand in hand with the product owner to refine user stories, help develop features, and work with the designers and everyone else in the team to get the product to where it should be. Naturally, the team grows, expands, and I get the opportunity to actually apply internally for the product owner role. If you've seen my last video, you should know that I am now a product owner, so you can guess how that went. Now I've been working at this organization for over a year, which is crazy. I've now lived in Germany for about 13 months, and yeah, I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. I'm really enjoying the work that I'm doing. I love the role of a product owner, and I really like my organization. My job role is 99.9% working from home, so it's crazy that I've left the UK to spend most of the time working in this room remotely. But it's great. I do enjoy it here, even though there are good days and bad days, like everything in life. You need to have the bad days to appreciate the good days, right? And yeah, that is the career change history that has led me from economics and finance at university to aviation consulting to digital consulting to business analyst and to product owner. A lot of you have requested this video, so I hope it helps some of you figure out how you could also manage to get yourself into UX design or into a product owner role. If you're on the other side of this, having gone through a career change already, let us know in the comments how you've done it and help someone else figure out your own path to get to the end goal that we all want. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope to see you in the next one. That's all. Goodbye.